Ramaphosa hailed this government during his inauguration speech, but also warned that unless it addressed deep inequalities, the country could become unstable. Through the ballots that they have cast, the people of South Africa have made plain their expectation that the leaders of our country should work together, President Ramaphosa, 71, said solemnly. They have directed their representatives to put aside animosity and dissent, to abandon narrow interests, and to pursue together only that which benefits the nation. South African dignitaries and African heads of states were invited to the inauguration. They included the leaders of Nigeria, Angola, Zimbabwe, Congo-Brazzaville and Eswatini, and gathered in the Nelson Mandela Amphitheatre outside the Union Building in Pretoria. A huge crowd of supporters formed outside the official seat of government, waving national flags. And lastly, in climate news, the European Union risks missing its 2030 climate goals, with Germany and Italy lagging behind. The two countries may have to spend 15 billion euros on carbon credits to comply with a climate law. A carbon credit shortage could lead to a costly bidding war and legal issues for EU nations. The European Union is at risk of missing its ambitious climate goals for 2030, and Germany and Italy are largely to blame. The two countries are so far off track of cutting greenhouse gas emissions in industries like transportation and buildings that they could be forced to spend upwards of $16.1 billion, which is about 15 billion euros, on carbon credits to comply with an EU law, according to research by T&E, a non-profit that advocates for cleaner transportation. There is just one problem. Germany and Italy could eat up the majority of credits available across the European Union, setting up a costly bidding war by other countries that also miss their climate goals. Well, that does it for the international news. Now we cross over to Jerome Paul in Studio B to give us details of the front pages from different East African countries.
Well, looking at the front page of the New Vision this morning, the cooperative cash, two more members of parliament have been arrested. The top city lawyers have been quizzed and granted bond, according to what the New Vision is highlighting today. Then also, 4 Rakai teachers arrested over sexual abuse. That is also in today's New Vision. And expect culinary magic at the exhibition, that is with the Bride and Groom Expo, as they are preparing you for the same. President Museveni meets traders leaders, a pictorial of the president with some of the traders leaders while meeting at State House. Then ex-Mulago boss, 6 others charged over 14 billion Ugandan shillings loss. Then elsewhere, family series, The Senyonyis, a marriage built on growth and friendship. And you can also read about indigenous students who have been hospitalized due to food poisoning. And then the Daily Monitor, members of parliament held for harvesting where they did not sow. At the front page of the Daily Monitor is Honorable Michael and Honorable Ignatius at the front page of the Daily Monitor. Now, among directs Kosase to probe Lubigi evictions. Then DM Today, Michael and Deborah, a timeless love story. Read about the story of Auntie Deb in today's Daily Monitor. Then unmasking the gaps in care and treatment for career patients. More of the details in the Daily Monitor. Then tragedy, 15 traders die in Kasanda truck accident. An accident that left many injured, as the 15 were recorded dead. Now, former Mulago Hospital Director Balerana remanded over graft, as forged National Council of Higher Education letter lands varsity official in trouble. That is it from press review in Uganda. Then in Kenya, the Daily Nation highlights Off the Hook. They are showing you unexplained wealth, as former Migori Governor Okoth Obado has recorded a consent at the High Court giving the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission the go-ahead to take over multi-million shilling assets acquired using stolen public funds. Then also read about Gen Z protests against proposed taxes spreading to Mombasa. Now, finance bill. Members of Parliament fury at plan to raise fuel prices in Kenya. And on the African perspective, Ramaphosa sworn in for second term. And education varsity sacks 350 staff over fake academic papers as brothers' tragic tale of a Dubai jobs scam. More of that is in the Daily Nation. Then lastly, the Citizen newspaper from Tanzania, members of parliament and consumers up in arms over proposed CNG charge. Then also 6 Tanzanian farms eye SGR operations. The biological father and clergyman among 9 seized over albino's girl's brutal killing. Then in business agreement, Tanzania secures new deal on Turkish investment. And that is it from our press review this morning.
Well, thank you, Jerome Paul. Now, since we are throwing back today, why not go with Sent from Heaven by Keisha Cole? We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Throwback Thursday, and we get into the nostalgia of the days that were sweeter and when life was easier. It could be something in the realm of music, or something you remember growing up, or something that you remember just a couple of years ago. It could be anything, but today is Throwback Thursday, and we throw back to those beautiful nostalgic memories that you may have. I have plenty. Mine comes in form of music, and I wish our producers could play for us Jimu Wange by Joanita Kawalia. That's a song that brings so many beautiful memories with my mother as I was growing up. Oh, my name is Olive Monica Najuma. Welcome to this Throwback Thursday edition of Good Morning Uganda with me, and of course with Robert Chirabo Nyonyi Tono and Jerome Paul Sonko in Studio B. Chantal Oliver Kandinda is not with us again, but we hope that she gets better and that she joins us very soon. Now, coming back to nostalgia and memories, that's when I want to chip into Jerome Paul Sonko and say good morning. And of course, what is that beautiful memory that you harbor this morning?
Good morning to you. The beautiful memory that I'm throwing back to is maybe from my personal point of view was when when I was attending school for the first time.
Oh, you have that memory?
And it was a very interesting one because I didn't know what to expect. It's baby class and you're going to start school. Of course, so many things. You're either anxious or you're also excited at the same time because you know you're going to meet some new age mates of yours. And you're going to be there in an environment for close to 6 hours. And well, one of the things I do remember most is that we used not to attend classes as early as 5, as it is today.
Like today's children.
So we would be dropped off by our parents by around 8 a.m. My mother would pick me 8 a.m. and some of my friends would even arrive at 9. And then we knew that by 1 p.m. we are leaving.
Hey, but Jerome Paul, how were you in baby class? And later on in your 20s, you remember vividly what happened when you were about 3. How?
No.
What kind of memory do you have?
No, when you're about 4, you're definitely going to know when you used to attend class.
Really?
That is something I can't forget because I knew my mother used to take me to school.
Wow.
My mother used to take me to school and it wasn't as early as it was. Because I remember there were days I could reach when my fellow classmates were already in class. But today, 5 a.m., I'm seeing shutters of schools waiting, rather shutters of schools waiting for different baby students or middle kindergarten as early as 5. At times you may even think these children are the ones that are going to look for money to take care of the home. So
actually,
times
some
have
of
really
them
changed.
leave their parents in bed. Yes, so that's. But I'm actually very impressed by your memory, because I don't remember much from when I was 3 or 4. A few memories from when I was 5, but Famba tells me that he remembers everything from his childhood. Now, Robert, you and I, does this mean that we have become fossils? Because how are these people remembering?
Oh, I also remember my first day at school.
Robert.
At Bettina Nursery School, how my mother took me, how I cried when she was leaving and going.
Okay.
How Auntie Chihuwa by then spoke to me, took me to her house, and as I was there, then she had these dogs. By then, those white dogs were very rare. So it came, I thought it was a pussycat. I still have those memories.
Oh my goodness, interesting.
Yeah,
But
but
anyway,
for me, throwing
yes.
back one, you talk, there's a song you mentioned,
Jimwang.
Jimwange. Me, I would talk about Viola Malaika by Eli
Viola.
Wamala.
Yes.
But this brings me to when music had meaning. Yesterday, I was passing a certain place, and I heard a song. First, I don't know, maybe I'm the one who is mistaken. Obscene music is beginning to trend.
Is it beginning? It has been trending for a bit.
And it seems like every musician must have something obscene in a song to capture people's attention.
Looks like it.
The artists, the Joanita Kawalias, the Paulo Cafero, Ruben knows many of those, the Eddie Wamala, the many you can mention. Their music
Basude,
had
Livingstone
purpose.
Kasozi.
Their music had purpose. You
Yes.
listen to a song, Muvuka Gendo Okole, a song that had meaning. Even those in English, country music, they all had meaning.
True.
And the top artists then would mean sense. Today you look at someone, they even interviewing him, it's as if he's on another planet.
He's chewing.
He's chewing.
Yeah.
Then they have these foolish gangs, you know, they move, they are causing chaos. So I was like, but where are we heading? And finally, I look at the time when you didn't have mobile phones. Were you there?
Yes.
When mobile phones were not there?
Yes.
Sonko, were you there?
When mobile phones weren't there.
When we never had mobile phones in Uganda?
I was there because my mother used to go and make phone calls. How do we call this? Is it a chikolo box something? They pay phone.
But Sonko, what you remember is even near.
Now there is
No, that
There
is
is
near
when
because
they
I
didn't have the-
experienced that. I used to follow her when she was going to pay for that, what for us we call the colo box in our, you know, in the lay language, the kind of pay phones. But I remember most of the days when my father had that huge phone. That
It
was
was a
always
Sony Ericsson.
Exactly.
Now the rich person who had it on the village, you would put it around the waist
that was the exact.
and move the entire village. But
Well,
that call box song has
interesting
talked about.
times.
I was beaten thorough by my father. A friend of mine told me, let's go and make money. We had that call box. Now there's how you used to hit it and the coins would fall out. Now the one we had, either it had a fault. I went, you hit in the side, slowly you take your time. Then the coins they have put there come, then you pick and go.
Robert, now I can tell your age without you telling me your age. But beautiful memories right here. Actually, I remember Jim Wange, but then there is another poignant song that is Ebisanyi Bimbunye Bunye. Oh, that's such a beautiful, beautiful song. But let's move into the news because a lot happened. Yesterday was World Sickle Cell Day, and the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Health advised couples to first of all test before they decide to have a child. And she said that 2 carriers of the sickle cell gene can actually produce a sickler. So despite being so much in love, find out if you're both carriers, because that love, according to the Permanent Secretary, that love will melt away when you start dealing with the challenges of having a sickler child.
You know, there is a famous saying lately, Babi Wulira.
Tebabulira. But anyway, we'll move on into the news. I hope you can listen to the advice of the Permanent Secretary. What's up, Robert?
Sonko.
Chirabo has a reason why he's laughing, but we'll know later.
I think he's reacting to the Babi Wulira part.
Chirabo, take us through the news.
Let me do the stories. Well, regarding the recent eviction at Lubiji Swamp, that was yesterday, Parliament session raised concern on the timely activity. Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Anit Amongi, criticized the manner in which the Leader of Opposition and some members of Parliament were treated while conducting an oversight role at Lubiji Swamp. The Leader of Opposition, Joe Senyonyi, highlighted complaints by government on letting citizens settle for years and later show up by evicting them. However, Senyonyi said government needs to engage with the citizens to make them understand the level of double standards showed at a swamp on leaving some settlements there. Meanwhile, Parliament has foiled a plan by the National Unity Platform Party to replace MPs Abedi Wanika and Joyce Bagala for positions of chairpersons and deputy chairpersons, respectively, of the Parliamentary Committee on Government Assurance and Implementations. The Speaker reminded the opposition wing of the past precedent that the House can deny a party position. The opposition leadership described the duo as incompetent after falling out and failing to hold sittings of the Government's Assurance Committee. The House sat on Wednesday to designate members of different sector committees of Parliament, where the opposition wing used the chance to request that they redesignate some leaders of the standing committee. The two leaders have of recent kept away from the NUP party position to remove Nyendo Mukungwe MP Mathias Mpuga from the Parliamentary Commission after allegations of corruption tendencies in disguise of a service reward. The Leader of Opposition, Joe Senyonyi, tried to convince the House of the alleged incompetency of the leaders, but in vain after the Speaker put a question and members voted against it. The House on Wednesday witnessed designation of members of different sectorial committees, as some members like Amos Kakukunda maintained positions of the chairperson of the Finance Committee. Still regarding matters of Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Amongi, utilized the Wednesday morning parliamentary session to add her voice to the concerns by a section of the public about the alleged continuous abuse of human rights by security officers. The viral video showing how MP for Busike County Paul Akamba was rearrested after the anti-corruption court in Kampala gave the MPs bail, where he had been given bail, is among the many
with Ukraine. But as of now, that shows you how hospitable we are and how we as a country are stable to create room for others. Now, some of the causes or why we have these refugees every other year, because in the period of the past 2 years, that is 2020 to 2023, further reports indicate that we saw 250,000 refugees coming into the country. So that was an addition to what we already had at the time.
Yes.
So when you look at some of the cases, one of the causes rather include, you know, the civil wars that are coming in from, because we host most of the refugees come from countries like South Sudan, Somalia, we have those coming in from Burundi, we have those coming in from the DRC. Now, most of these are because of the insecurities within these countries, and some of these insecurities are majorly because of the endless civil wars in some of the regions of the country, which forces many of these citizens of those respective countries to come in and seek for asylum in different countries. And of course, the best country to look out for in the region now is Uganda, because of how hospitable it is, and of course the availability of the space to accommodate quite a number of these refugees. But that aside also, you do realize that with the number of refugees, or the percentage of refugees being the 81%, according to the reports by the Euronews at the start of this year, is that 81% of those are women and children. Now, there's also that element of some of the women and children being displaced due to maybe family wrangles from different countries, and then they end up on the streets, and then they are joining the queue of the refugees that head to Uganda.
Okay, now coming back to you, Robert. So civil wars are a big factor that makes many people get displaced and seek asylum in Uganda. And when we look at our refugee policy as a country, you said that even the European Union praises it. Tell us more about this policy.
And it is a justification why actually we are having so many numbers of refugees, that a refugee will even move away from a country nearest to them and want to focus to entering Uganda.
Yes.
Now, Uganda's refugee policy is unique.
How so?
How unique it is, it has these following factors. Now, Uganda's refugee policy grants freedom of movement to a refugee. A refugee in this country has the right to move anywhere. It gives them the right to employment. You're a refugee, but you have a right to be employed, to get a job. Education, health, as well as a right to start business. And this is very critical, a right to start business. And in addition to those in settlements, the government also provides refugees with plots of land so that they can farm and construct shelter. It empowers refugees to become economically self-reliant while granting them the same rights that citizens enjoy. Now, not many countries, if not Uganda, where a refugee enjoys the same rights as a citizen. The only thing they don't get is citizenship. That's why when you go downtown, you're going to find Congolese refugees dealing in these bitenji, what are they called? Tie and dye, something, those clothes. You're going to find refugees, Congolese, doing all kind of business. Bars, some owning car bonds, the right to shelter. Imagine you're running away from from war, because a refugee is either running away from war, running away from hunger, that maybe there is so much drought, there is famine, so they run to another country to survive. Those are two major reasons.
Yes.
If there are not bullets or power of the barrel of the gun, famine. Now, you go to this country, you're received at an entry point. Now, you're looked after. Later, you're given a small plot to farm. You can have a structure. Now, you can start a business. You can move anywhere in that particular country as if you're not a refugee. The health facilities we go to are not segregative. If it's a government facility and the health services I receive as a Ugandan are the same that a refugee is going to receive. Look at our education system. How many of us have not studied in a school where you're studying with Congolese, Sudanese? There's a time when most schools were dominated with Sudanese, and they had a refugee status. All their parents were refugees, so they're not segregated in any manner. And sometimes this angers even the locals or indigenous people, that they're even given more priority. Someone will tell you that way they are cherished. I remember when Ugandans were saying, when we go to Sudan, we don't get the treatment that the Sudanese here in Uganda are getting. You know, so our government, this policy grants them freedom, peace of mind that they cannot get in any country. That's why the United Nations has praised Uganda and asked other countries to emulate Uganda's beautiful refugee policy.
Now, Jerome Paul, when you hear someone like Flavia Amoding, who is from the Platform for Vendors in Uganda, which is, and also the chairperson of refugee-focused organization, Refugees, she says, refugees are vulnerable, yet they have to feed and take care of themselves and their families. And she adds that there needs to a lot needs to be done in terms of social protection, skilling, and social cohesion to be able to incorporate them into a socially enterprising community. What did you deduce from this statement against the backdrop of what Chirabo has said, that they are not segregated against, they have rights to work,
Yes.
rights to education, and rights to shelter. But then you hear she's saying they need to be protected even more and skilled more. What do you deduce from that?
From the perspective of being protected, again, it goes back to what Chirabo mentioned, that some of the Ugandans are even concerned that the government tends to pay more attention to the refugees than the Ugandans themselves. But when you go back to some of the challenges the refugees are facing, by the way, the skilling part of it is a very huge problem. And then not all communities are welcoming as such.
Yes.
I will tell you, as much as we are looking at Uganda being hospitable, but not so many of these communities are welcoming, in a situation that if you're not a native of Uganda, some will segregate you and treat you like you don't belong here. And you know, if you're in such a situation, we've heard of reports where some refugees will reach a time and they want to go back home, whether it's still unsafe or whether it's safe. They feel it's more comfortable being back in their homeland.
Do you think
because
that,
of the fact because of the fact that at times the communities they are around are not welcoming enough. And then there's also an element of malnutrition, because when you look at some of there's a stunting rate of 40% and up to 10 to 15% of acute malnutrition rate among children below the age of 5. Now this number is recorded within
the settlement.
And the reason behind it is that at times some settlements receive not so many kilograms of food that can keep them throughout the month. Remember, most of the funding we receive is donor funding that heads to the refugee settlements and camps, and of which at times when it delays or it is cut, then the government is strained further. So that means
let me actually come in there. There has been the question of funding towards the refugee situation in the country being cut. Why are development partners cutting funding towards the refugee efforts, and what is the government doing about it?
Well, let me just give you some figures here. In 2018, around $170 was spent per year per refugee. So every refugee was attached to 170. Now, as we speak, it's only $85
That's a stark difference.
Per head. So when you look at some of the reasons, it's some of the humanitarian funders were against one. If we remember so well, during the elections of 2021, there were some of the humanitarian funders that decided to opt out.
Yes.
Because of reasons known to them. And then there are also others who threatened to opt out after Uganda signed into law, that is the Anti-Homosexuality Act. Of course, these are some of the things that some of them believe that we are not pushing for human rights. And then they decided to cut some of the funding. But then also there is an element of the Ukraine.
Yes, conflict. I was about to ask if the geopolitical issues in the West are also contributing
and that one is a very critical one, simply because some of the countries that are funding Uganda per se had to also turn attention to the European Union. For example, if we were getting funding from the European Union, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for them to prioritize Uganda when the people in Ukraine are also in need.
They have their own problems back home. Okay, so Robert, coming back to you. Yes, we are hospitable people, but we are also still a third world country. We have our own set of problems, and probably that's why there is a group of Ugandans that are against our appetite for receiving and hosting more and more refugees into the country, because like you said, they feel that we already have enough that we are dealing with, that we are not dealing with favorably, and now we are adding. It's like having 5 children, but then you bring your brother's 5 children to your home, and yet the house is already stretched. So what is the impact of us as a country hosting refugees to a tune of 1.7 million? That's a lot. I'm not criticizing, but that's a lot.
Well, I'll look at both sides of the coin very briefly. First, I'm among those Ugandans that feel we need to change this refugee policy of ours. Because it seems we are biting more than we can chew. And the fact is, we can't continue in this situation because influx of refugees and their management is not sustainable. Our donor partners, like Sonko said, have had different areas of focus. But they have also come to realize that spending so much money on refugees, you rather spend so much money on seeing how best we can end. Because refugees is a problem caused. Because the refugees we are talking about are not running away from natural calamities.
Yes.
These are human problems caused.
Apart from famine, maybe, and drought.
But the ones we are talking about are not running away from famine
insecurity
or drought.
Most, for the most
when
part.
you look at the M23, the ADF,
yes.
these
and
are rebel
the
groups.
Situation in South Sudan.
When you go to South Sudan, you have leaders who have failed to reach to us some, I don't even know, international relations, I don't want to go into how I would. So these are human-caused problems. Now, donor partners are now looking at how best do we help these people, if possible, prevent the problem than thinking of maintaining the problem. Now, one, we have refugees that are in settlements, the ones in Chaka, Nachivale, the 13 refugee settlements that we have. Now, there, we have issues of the ecosystem. Because when these people come, huge chunks of land, when you go to Chaka too, when you go to these, you look at structures, hectares and hectares of land. And these are refugee settlements. Now, one, they are cutting trees to clear the land for settlement, disorganizing our ecosystem. But also, two, we are using our land for these settlements, and the indigenous people, they scramble for resources. Now, I remember one time, I think it was in Nachivale, where I had the locals, is it Chaka? Fight with a section of refugees over a water source. Because the locals have had this, now you bring this influx, the water source is not enough for them. Food. There was a time when these will receive their monies. So there are these area markets, weekly. When the refugees get there, the price of food shoots high. And the locals cannot afford. Remember, the person selling his yams, his tomatoes, will raise the price to get more
So
profit.
in a nutshell, Chirabo, as you close, what should be done so that we can coexist with the refugees? Because it doesn't look like we're about to stop hosting them.
First, I want to thank government and our development partners, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, that whenever they have put structures, hospitals, schools, are not segregative. The refugees can go there, the local people can go there, and there have been some effort to put water sources and everything. But my concluding remarks, I want to say, we can no longer be proud of having the best refugee policy. We need to stand out firm and tell these countries where these refugees are coming from that solve your problems. Solve your problems. This is a man-created problem. Wars are created by men, not God.
And they can be managed.
And they can be solved. Ugandans were once refugees in Tanzania, in some other countries, 40 years down the road. We may have asylum seekers, maybe, but we do not have refugees. Clean your houses. South Sudan, Burundi, Rwanda. We once had Rwandese refugees here. Plenty of them. Today, Rwanda is peaceful.
Well, that is Robert's opinion, but he's right on the money. Some of these problems are man-made, so they can be managed. So countries must start to clean their houses. Jerome Paul, your parting shots in just a few seconds.
I'm just remembering what the government has been doing for the past 10, 20 years of joining peace missions with other African Union countries to ensure that there is peace in most of these countries. We had those peace missions in Somalia, and also extending our security to the borders as well as in South Sudan to create peace. I think that is the best thing because you do realize that the numbers of refugees only increase when there is instability. within most of the countries, because at least one of the key reasons as to why we have an increase in the refugees is only when there are civil wars within those countries. So that is one thing that countries need to work upon, especially when it comes to creating stability, because if at all we didn't have stability in our country today,
yes,
who knows, maybe some of us would have as well been refugees somewhere else.
And you're right. So security, peace, it's very important so that your people, your country's countrymen do not have to seek asylum or become refugees in other countries. Well, that's all that we had for you. We will take a short break, and when we come back, we have Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express, and Jerome Paul will be coming back with Good Morning Uganda Business. Stick with us.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Juko.
Yo.
What you go? Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that.
Okay.
The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
In the heart of Fort Portal town, there is a hidden game called Cheganywa Hill. This is a place that gives you almost a 360 view of the town. You know, when you talk about Fort Portal town, the first thing that you're going to think about are the green scenery, the beautiful landscapes. They're intertwined within valleys, hills, craters, crater lakes, calderas. But if you want to have this perfect view, that attracts different adventurers across the world to come to this place just to see, to have a glimpse of this beautiful landscape. It is at Cheganywa Hill. So right here, when we hike up to this top, you get to see 3 crater lakes at the same view. You get a bird's view of these 3 crater lakes. Lake Chigere, Lake Wabikere, Lake Saka. All those 3, you see them. But across the hill, there are also other things that you're going to spot. Mountains of the Muniu University, you're going to see a caldera, you're going to see the green lush lake. The scenery is amazing. This is one that it is one that I can actually die for, because being here in this place, it is beautiful to the eyes. You never get tired of watching this place. So I think as we're thinking about traveling, as we're thinking about exploring Uganda, this is one place that should actually be on your bucket list. As we encourage you to travel, maybe you could not be knowing where to go, you don't know which place to go to, what to do, but now we are showing you Cheganywa Hill. Of course, there is a hike. It is not, okay, I won't say that it is very difficult like the mountains, but it is a hike. Of course, hiking never, it is the same, because it gets you tiring, you get tired, you sweat, but getting to the top of Cheganywa Hill is definitely something that you would really want to have. So let's roll and see how we hike up. Thank you.
My name is David Bride. and I'm from around here, so I just found myself to be in this amazing place. It has an amazing view. I like here every time, every evening when I'm free, I come here, do some physicals, as you can see me here right now. Well, I am right now, you can see me. Or sometimes I come with my baby, I come and hang out here because it's an amazing place. Or if I tell you have a date, please make sure you bring your baby here. I'm sure she'll like it. She'll love you forever because this is a very nice place. Everybody could just feel like, oh, I love this. This place is amazing. So this is amazing. As you could see yourself, it's really amazing. And every time of me, I just be here because I really love it. We are on the top, like here, and down there we by 3 crater lakes. I think they are down there. Maybe we cannot see all of them, but there are 3 in one place. We can see the valley, and we can see mostly when you come here like at 6:30, when there is a sun, you can really see the sun rising. It gives the perfect view. Oh my God, when you just here like around 6:30 p.m., you love it. Or you can come in the morning at 6:30, 6:20. You be here, you see it gives amazing sight.
My name is Nelon. I'm standing here on top of Cheganyo Hill in Fort Portal, a place I can say is one of the most arousing and alluring in Uganda. Like you can see, this place, as you're on top of this hill, there are 4 crater lakes. One is called Lake Saka. That big one, it's a lava dammed lake, and it has an arm, which is a crater lake on its side. It's also part of Lake Saka as well. And then on my right side, there is Lake Wabikere, which is a blowhole. It was an incomplete eruption, and then water filled up that hole and it became a lake of sorts. Then behind us is one of the most famous crater lakes in this region. It's called Lake Chigere. In full, it's called Lake Chigere Kyanyinamwiru. But usually it's commonly known as Lake Chigere, as you can see. And behind you guys, behind the camera, we have the Kalyango rolling hills. Those hills there with the caldera on top. And then we have Kamutebi swamp. We have the Rwenzori mountains right there. We have Fort Portal city on my left. We have Mountains of the Moon University. We have Katojo prisons. We have Mohoti barracks, and so many attractions in this place. So when you're here, you get to experience one of the best views in Uganda. There is also Nyakasura School, where those guys wear kilts, those red iron sheets, and all that you get to enjoy it after hiking this Cheganyo Hill. It's a breathtaking hike, not for everyone. The name Cheganyo means, in our local language in Rutoro, it means something that people try to avoid. Cheganyo. Kweganya is to avoid. Kweganywa. To avoid. So that's why they named this hill Cheganyo. Like you guys realized when you're trying to, at the start of the hike, everyone was like, we have to, I'm not going. It had to take so much convincing for people to hike. So that's where the name came from. This lake is called Chigere Kyanyinamwiru because on the other side of the lake there is a rock with a footprint of, it's believed to be the footprint of Nyinamwiru. So that's why the lake is called Lake Chigere. Yeah, and behind the rolling hills is where we find the Maberega Nyinamwiru caves and so many other breathtaking attractions.
So if you think that you've had it all, that you've explored Uganda, but you've not been to this spot, then I don't know what you've really done, because every time you travel, you think that you've seen it all, but every time you go back, there's still something new for you. So I don't know how many times I can go to a destination, because even experiences become different with the people that you go with. So I don't know, you who has not been to this place, I don't know what you're really thinking, but for me, I'm here to uncover for you all the hidden gems that are endowed in the Pearl of Africa. So thank you so much. This is the GME Tourism Express with Irene Alena Misango. Catch you tomorrow.
Well, and welcome to the GMU Business Updates now. I'm Joram Paul Sonko. I'll start off with what happened yesterday at the annual Bankers Conference, which was the 7th annual Bankers Conference at the Kampala Serena Hotel. Well, this time around, they were looking and focusing on the ESG agenda, which is environment and social governance, as they're trying to see how you can navigate through the banking industry or the financial institutions, but rather how the banking sector is ready to push for environment and social governance. Now, looking at it from this the banking was looking at preparing the future of all the banking institutions and their readiness to adopt to environmental, social governance, as well as sustainability and digital transformation in general. And ESG aims at ensuring that all financial institutions conduct business in ways that protect and promote the environment and communities in general. Now, environmental social governance considerations continue to garner global attention across various industries, which include the financial services sector. Now, financial institutions occupy a pivotal position in addressing ESG risks because they direct capital towards transformative investments and projects that are sustainable and bring about inclusivity. Now, as the regulatory landscape rapidly evolves to support the accelerated shift towards a sustainable future, the call for collaboration among Uganda's financial industry was made. Ramadan Gobi, the Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, revealed that a number of frameworks are being employed and are in the pipeline aimed at mitigating ESG challenges in Uganda. And according to some of the various speakers at the annual Bankers Conference, embracing ESG is more than a regulatory requirement, but a strategic move towards enduring sustainability and resilience in a dynamic business environment, which does seem to be changing year in and year out. Now, of course, conversations rotating around climate change have been leading different conferences and conventions world over. So when it comes to the banking industry, how ready are the financial institutions to tackle some of these issues? Because financial institutions can only operate fully within an environment that is secure enough. Now, that brings us to the element of governance. Now, when it comes to the social bit of it, how do you relate with some of the customers and the clients of your bank as a financial operator or as someone who is running a financial institution? But besides that also, you get to also look at the element of environmental sustainability or environmental protection. Like I did mention, many of the conferences, conventions world over are looking at how we can address matters climate change. But at the backdrop of that, many of the key stakeholders in the banking industry took part of the 7th annual Bankers Conference, and of course it also had other keynote speakers coming in from different government entities, speaking of which the Central Bank, the Ministry of Finance, the National Social Security Fund, and other key stakeholders of Uganda's economy, more so those who are external watchers of the economy, such as MasterCard, were part of this annual Bankers Conference. Now, besides that, let's look into the levels of employment in the country, because new details coming in from the Purchasing Managers Index have further revealed that this Purchasing Managers Index has further revealed that companies are now having enough room to hire more Ugandans in various spaces. Now, the Purchasing Managers Index, if you come to think of it, conducts monthly interviews among chief executives and purchasing managers, which indicated that there is an increase in new orders in more than a year, which has forced several companies to reinforce their employment numbers to match demand with outputs. Now, firms increased staffing levels for the 14th month, including both part-time and full-time workers due to increased output. Then at the same time, the survey also noted that almost all surveyed sectors, among which included retail and wholesale, construction and trade, apart from agriculture, had increased and had recorded an increase in activity, with new orders increasing across the board, which means there was more room to hire more of the employees in order to meet the demand on the market. Because if you're to look at the demand rising, you have to also increase on your level of productivity. So that means your output has to also increase, giving room for some room of employment and job advertisements increasing. Now, the next financial year, let's head to the region because 1st July will be the kickoff of the financial year 2024-2025. And now what is coming in Tanzania, it reveals that at the start of the year, more dollarization of the economy is going to continue. Now, many economies are trying to shun away from only trading with the dollar, and it does seem like Tanzania is seeking to limit the use of the US dollar. Now, during the presentation of the national budget in Tanzania, the finance minister, Dr. Mwigulu Nchemba, issued a directive in an effort to curb the widespread use of the US dollar in the country. And according to reports, this is just among many of the many body blows taken by the dollar over the last several years. Now, the Tanzanian directive mandates that all transactions in the country must be advertised and conducted in Tanzanian shillings. And this is taking effect 1st of July this very year. Now, henceforth, all such payments were to be made in shillings, promoting financial stability and compliance with the law. Now, visitors will be encouraged to exchange foreign currency into the Tanzanian shillings to facilitate transactions that support the local economy. So there will not be any visitor who will be paying in dollars per se. Once you reach the airport or once you touch down Tanzania, the first thing will be directing you to the nearby Forex Bureau for you to turn that money into Tanzanian shillings. Now, besides that, over the last several years, a growing number of institutions in Tanzania, both governmental and private, have increased payment in dollars. This has led to the dollar shortage in the country. Now, last month, the Tanzania Central Bank began selling dollars held in its reserve to commercial banks, hoping to ease a dollar shortage. Now, the combination of a growing demand for greenbacks coupled with the shortage led to a growing black market for the dollars. So Tanzania is aiming at ensuring that, well, there is limited use of the US dollar within the country in the next financial year. Now, that directive takes immediate effect 1st July 2024. Well, with that same story, I will begin with the Tanzanian shilling and how it is faring on the Forex exchange, courtesy of the Bank of Uganda. That is starting with how it opened yesterday and how it closed in the evening. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.42 shillings in Uganda, while selling at 1.43 shillings. That is Ugandan shillings on the exchange. That is closing time. Now, still within the region, Kenya, where many of the strikes and the Gen Z are taking over when it comes to taking the change that they need in their country. The Kenyan shilling is buying at 28.99 shillings, while selling at 29.07 shillings. Not much of an effect as of now when it comes to the regional changes. And the South African rand was buying at 206.63 or selling at 207.18. And then looking at the US dollar, buying at 3,713.08 shillings while selling at 3,723.08. That is how it opened yesterday. But evening time saw the US dollar buy at 3,730.96, a slight increase, while selling at 3,740.96. Again, there's a slight increase of the same. The Great Britain pound was buying at 4,736.76 shillings while selling at 4,749.47 shillings. And lastly, the euro, where the tournament is ongoing, was buying at 3,999.77 shillings while selling at 4,010.51 Ugandan shillings. So that's how you will find different currencies faring on the exchange, and that is brought to you by the Bank of Uganda. Well, that does it for business this morning. I'll be back on Monday with the latest from the business world. But as of now, Olive Monica Najuma is right here to give you the traffic updates. But please do note, Good Morning Uganda does continue, so stick around.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, dondolo.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks, Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Ismail nga nina omudaala guno gwenkolako teekawo okusobola okufunamu akasente akanyamba ne famire mpola mpola. Badde driver nga nvuga naye nga bw'omanya ebintu by'okukozesebwa natuuka ekiseera mukama wange mmotoka neggwawo nentuula nga sina kyakkola. Twetaba mu musomo ogwo ne tutandika okugusoma ne kansala n'atubuulira ne tulaba nga tusobola bwe tuyingira gundi ya gavumenti eyo nga tulaba okwewola sente mu banka nga tulaba nga banka zitutwala ate amagoba gaabwe mangi nnyo natugaa tuyingire ekintu kino gavumenti etukwatireko ekyanyingiza nnyo. Nyambibwa nti nsobola okusevinga ku sente obutonotono n'ekirala nti so okunyamba ku sente z'okukozesaako ewaka kuba olaba ekintu ky'osobola kuba twalwa ne defense ye neetaba mu kyamatooke nze neetaba ku kyebuga tukwase kuumirawo obulamu nga tetulina kapito. Tusuubula ensawo nga noleeta ensawo y'emboga n'ennyaanya ne tusuubuzaako abalala nabo ne batwala n'osobola okusigaza ebisigadde ne bisigala wano. Era n'ow'amatooke naye bw'akola bw'ati. Olunaku tugenda mu katale ku makya saa 11 n'osuubula w'osuubula n'oleeta n'osuubuzaako bali abatutte then ebisigaddewo n'obiteeka ku mudaala n'oguza bano abatwala ab'ewaka. Tusevingayo era osevingayo 2,200 sente zo we ziwera era nazo woziteeka nga saving mukama wakuweerako n'endala n'osobola okwetaasa mu kintu ekirala oba ebizibu oba okwongera mu kapito oba nga tubeera ne fees bintu bingi ebitu challenge nyingi ze tuba zitutunuulira. Ne saving oyo yakuyamba then n'ogatta ku kyoba ogasseeko n'osobola okumalawo obuzibu obulala obuba bubuzi. Mbagamba bakyetabe mu kintu kirungi nnyo bave ku ssente z'amabanka mbi nnyo. Banka zitwavuwazizza zitutta ebintu byaffe naye zino ssente za PDM nnungi nnyo bakyetabe kirungi.
Amanya gange nze Nanyonga Betty n'omudaala gw'amatooke ennyaanya ne kalonda yenna sinnaba kuzifunako naye tusevinga tusobole okuzifuna. Nsevinga buli wiiki 2,000 1,000 mu wiiki ennaku nga 3 2 1,000 bwentyo. Nsevinga ssente ezo tusobole okufuna zeba sente za parish model zijja nange nsobole ozifunako nyongere mu bizinensi yange esobole okutambula. Zinyamba okubeera nti nsuubira okubeera nti nziteekayo olw'okusuubira okubeera nti mujja kutuwa ssente ezo nga mutusanze tulina ke tulinayo akagattibwako akalabibwako nti tuli bakozi.
Amanya gange nze Nabuguzi Grace. Azini mu kusooka alina ekolera jange enjoyininga parish model babanga batuwaayo obuyambi nga loan sobole okweyimirizaawo nenfuna loan eyo netandikawo akaduuka kange kano kubanga already nga nina obwetaavu bungi nina abaana bendabirira nenjagala ntandikewo n'abaana bange mbe nga nsobola obbalabirira era kati nsobola obbabeezaawo. Kale nawo n'abakyala anyambako tuna n'abakyala affe wano namuliiramu nabanga nyambako nensalawo kankole kano akaduuka kwezo ssente ze baba bampadde kati ate nga mba nina okuzzaayo akaduuka ntunda amazzi ntunda obutunda soda era ze bampa nemba nga nfunako ka fridge kano don't kali second hand bakanguzanga 3 edduuka nsasula 10 kyanga nkitandika almost kati ngenda mu mwaka njifunamu bange era mbesaawo abaana bange nsevinga okusevinga era nfunamu amagoba kubanga ngenda nensevinga lwentwayo nsevinga nga 2,700 bonna mbakubiriza omulanga baveeyo gye bali beyanjule tuba ffenna twetaaga obuyambi kubanga embeera si nnungi teri ajeeyagalira lwakuba nti tuba tetulina busobozi naye oba ofunye opportunity ng'olina abakuyamba kiba tekyetaagisa kuddamu eyo mbeera.
Kirembwe Matiya ni musuubuzi wa mmere ate mu kyalo muno nkola wa defense. Mu kusooka nali nsuubula manda naye nga bwe batugamba obutonde manda ago baagatutiisa nti okutema emiti obutonde tubwonoona nenkyusa nenzira mu bizinensi y'emmere naye natandika mpola mpola kati awo ne Paris Modo we yajjira netwongeramu akasente netubanga twongera tusobola okwekulaakulanya. Natandika n'enkota 3 kubanga ebiseera ebyo emmere yali ya bbeeyi naye kati nsobola okuleeta enkota 100 kisinziira ebbeeyi gye mbanguza eri naye kati nga nsobola okuleeta enkota 10 kaakati emmere eyo bwe ngireeta ninayo bakasitoma bange ba mirundi ng'ena mbasuubuza ne seerwisaako kintu ekyo kubanga kati eno ewezezaawo ennaku 2 nagisuubuzaako kati era ekiro kya leero nja kutikkula emmere endala bwe ntyo seerwisa kubeera awo enyengereko bwe nfunako 1000 bwe nfuna 2 nga ngisuubuza kaakati mu kusooka nga bw'omanyi abantu baffe baali balowooza nti bya bulimba naye kati fe abaafuna ku ssente ekintu twakikakasa n'abalala tubakakasa era tusaba beewandiise nabo bafune ssente kintu kikola kya ddala era omukyalo oyo mukyala Namuddu atukozeemu omulimu munene nnyo tumwebaliza ddala mukyala mulungi tasosola nti ate bano ba movement ate bano baani buli muntu kasita apurayinga obulungi ssente azifuna era tusaba kigende mu maaso n'abalala bafune ssente kaakati omuntu abadde tannafuna ku ssente mbadde mmusaba ateekemu amaanyi asobole okufuna ssente ezo kyembadde mbakuutira baleme kweveera kudda eyo mbw ebyo balimba tetukyagala bonna mbakubiriza okuwandiika kugenda mu maaso bafune ssente beekulaakulanye era muzeeyi tumwebaza olw'enkola eyo gye yaleeta ennuŋŋamu tujja kuyitawo tujja kwekulaakulanya bulungi ng'ate akasente akalimu si keeka akalimu nti magoba nti biki tuyanziza nnyo maama.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, it's a beautiful morning. Thank you for sticking with us. This is the part of Good Morning Uganda that we call Agenda, where we have topical discussions with people of influence in our community. And of course, we talk many issues that aggrieve or interest Ugandans. Now, as a parent, guardian, or someone that is just interested in the education sector, maybe you've been having questions regarding some candidates that were not able to sit their senior for examinations last year. And even those that sat but failed. What is the way forward for them, given that also this year we are sitting for the first time national exams at all level, but using the new curriculum that was introduced back in 2020. So these are some of the pertinent questions we want to answer, but I won't be answering them myself. I will be having Miss Jennifer Kalule, who is the principal communications, public relations personnel at the Uganda National Examinations Board, to answer some of these questions. And my name is Olive Monica Najuma. Good morning.
Good morning, Olive.
Welcome to Good Morning Uganda.
Thank you, thank you, thank
you. You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. May the Lord take the glory. And a very good morning to all our dear viewers, all the UBC viewers. And thank you, UBC team, for keeping it there. It is a great network.
All right, thank you so much for appreciating, and we will jump right into it. Over 9,000 students have registered to sit a transitional exam. Tell us more about this transitional exam and who is qualified to sit it. Is it just the people that failed, or even the people that did not register, were not able to sit the national examinations last year?
Okay. Thank you so much. First and foremost, as a country, it is important for us to recognize that as a country, we are transiting from the old curriculum to the new curriculum. And this is basically at lower secondary school level. It is not for primary level, it is not for UACE, it's just for lower secondary school level. So this year, as UNEB, we are going to be assessing the learners of the new curriculum, the pioneer candidates of the new curriculum. So they are a very special category of candidates for us. It's the very first time we are going to assess them, because the new curriculum did start in 2020. So 4 years down the road, they are ready for assessment at that level. However, we also recognize that as a country, we cannot just move from one level to another, as in crash bang. So we did request our principal of the ministry to allow us have a transitional period, a transitional set of examinations and transitional candidates who are going to sit for the old curriculum this time round. And we are looking at, like what you have said, we have learners who sat last year in 2023 but did not pass, and they would want to improve their grades. We also have learners whose results were cancelled due to malpractice. We also have learners who registered for the examination last year, but for some reason they did not sit. We always have absentees. And then we have learners who did not register for some reason, or they were late, or they did not have the money, or they were not ready to sit for the examination. They did not sit for the examination. Now we are looking at people who sat their primary leaving examination in 2018 or before. This is very critical for us, because at UNEB, the PLE result slip is the basis for all the other assessments. However, we also have adult learners who have never sat for primary leaving examination. For this category, you have to be 20 years and above. All you need to do is come to UNEB and inform us, request to sit for the examination, as long as you show proof of payment, and you must also be a Ugandan. For the others, you may not be a Ugandan. For adult learners, it is a special, it is specially for Ugandans. You prove that you are Ugandan, and then you are 20 years and above. You do not have to have a primary leaving examination certificate. You can come and we shall let you sit for the examination. Of course, that means you have to put in an extra effort. You go and do the reading. It's basically about private reading for most of these. So those are the categories of people whom we expect to sit for this examination. And of course, usually we know people who have political ambitions because they have targets. They have some minimum qualification. Even for other for other areas, other maybe somebody wants to upgrade their career, for other careers, other placements. Somebody out there may want to improve their grades. Maybe somebody did not get a grade which they wanted, and they're like, I want to get a better grade. I want to change my career path. But in order for you to change your career path, you need to have this kind of grading at UCE level. We invite all those kind of people to come and register with us, to come and to ensure they register for this, what we've called a transitional examination, because it's helping us transit from the old curriculum to the new curriculum. Okay. And it's going to be alongside the new, I mean, the same timing. So we are going to have 4 sets of examinations this time around. We are going to have the primary leaving examination, but starting in October, where we have the UCE which begins, you're going to have UCE candidates for old curriculum, UCE candidates for the new curriculum. Then of course okay. Also have your SCE.
Okay, and what are the numbers? We have over 9,000 that are sitting for these exams. How many, what of these numbers, what of the 9,000 makes up for females and for the males?
Interestingly, the females are more than the males.
Interesting.
As of last evening, we had about 9,324 who had registered for the examination when I last checked in the evening. And out of these, 5,192 are females. And then that is about 56%.
Yes.
And 4,132 are males. That is about 44%. So more females have turned up for the transition examination than the males. So we want to urge the males out there, hey, pull up your socks. You don't let, I mean, it is quite a big variance. Well, usually it's 51, 49, 50, 49, 50, but
now 56.
56 and 44 is quite a big variance. But also, I think the women now are more outgoing. They realize they have targets. There's somewhere you are going. You're like, I need to get this. I need to attain this. So we are very grateful to this government, which has given us gender empowerment for the women. But we also want our male counterparts to come along. We want both the boy child and the girl child to be within the same range. So we want to encourage more people, especially those who have political ambitions. They are the ones who usually get issues and you reach somewhere and the papers are thrown out or whatever it could be. You have just this one opportunity. That's also the other thing I want to emphasize. We do not intend to do this examination again because we've already transited to gone to another curriculum. So as a board, we can't keeping the country behind by setting the old curriculum. So it is a one-off. We're setting it for the last time. We do not intend to set exams under the old curriculum again. So how much time do they have? They have until, okay, tomorrow. First of all, what we call normal registration. This is why you do not have to pay a surcharge. And if you're going to register under normal registration, the fee is 164,000 if you're going to be a private candidate. However, we have a category of learners who qualify to be learners for universal secondary education. That means that you did study under UPE at primary school level, and even earlier at the secondary school level, you were under USE, universal secondary education. Such learners qualify to register under the government program, and the government is going to pay for their registration. So they have to make sure they've paid up or they've registered by tomorrow, the 21st of June. That is the deadline for the normal registration. However, thereafter, you can always register privately. And then...
and the privately ends when?
Normal registration still ends tomorrow. That is for normal registration of the 164. However, thereafter, then you have to pay a surcharge of 50%. 50% of the 164, and then that is where the challenge is. You can still register until the 31st of July, only that the fees are very different. And they can register from any of the government schools, or even a private school, as long as they have the arrangement. And then we also have the halls. UNEP has what we call private halls in different parts of the country, different towns. Most people, like in Kampala here, it's managed by KCCA. In districts, it's usually managed by either the district education office or district inspector of schools. They are the ones who manage them. Like you find it could be like in Gulu, in Iganga, in Mbale, in Arua. Most towns actually have these private halls. So you can actually go there and you ask where you can register from, or go to the district education office and ask them where you can be able to register from. But I want to encourage anybody who wants at least register, because if you don't register now, don't come up in September and say, UNEB, I think now I want to do this examination. We will not have space for you. That is why I want to encourage you to please make sure you register now. You may change your mind later on, but at least make sure you are in our database, because we have to do the planning. And this is a national examination. You have to know where you're going to sit, how many scripts do we need, how many people. It's too detailed. So that is why we have to put a deadline, and we want to encourage everybody to make sure they do register in time.
And the deadline is tomorrow, the 21st of June, 2024. So if you have any plans of sitting for this exam, then you should be registering today or tomorrow. After that, there will be a surcharge. Okay, there will be a surcharge after tomorrow, but then when will that deadline be? Because probably I don't have 164 now, but I might have it in a week or two. Will that still suffice?
A week or two, that means 164 plus. It will not end up 200 something.
And when will this be the deadline
so we have,
as well?
The first deadline is June 31st. That is the surcharge of 50%. And then when it gets to July, the surcharge will become 100%. Reason being, it's kind of very cumbersome for us. This organizes our planning. So we need to do our planning quite early. And this also applies to our new centers. We have new examination centers for all levels, for primary, for UCE and USCE. So for these new centers, deadline for registration is also tomorrow, 21st, for normal registration. Thereafter, you can register, but you're going to have to pay a surcharge. Same applies to all the others. Now, for the others, deadline, the normal registration ended. Now, right now, if they're paying right now, they have to pay a surcharge.
Okay, so you heard it from the horse's mouth. I'm speaking to Miss Jennifer Kalle, who is the Principal Public Relations Personnel at the Uganda National Examinations Board. And we are speaking matters regarding the transitional examination that will be sat in October this year. And the target priorities or the priority people for this examination are people who sat their senior for last year and failed, people whose examination results were cancelled by UNEB due to malpractice, and many others. So if you are in this category, and I like that she has kept saying, if you have political ambitions, we've had many election results overturned because the candidate did not have the required needed results, basically academic qualifications.
The minimum
Yes,
academic
exactly.
qualification.
Yes. So if you have political ambitions, this is the time for you to go and sit for this examination. But now, Miss Jennifer, let's turn our attention to the other elephant in the room. Yes. So the Uganda National Examinations Board is launching into the first examinations for the new curriculum. Beautiful stuff. But then we also hear that there is going to be new grading from A to E. We have been used to grading of D1, D2, D3, and then at A level, we've had the A's and the B's and the C's and, you know, the like. But now, so tell us more, why the new grading and how is it going to be done?
Okay, thank you so much. First and foremost, I'm glad that you recognize that at A level, we are already doing that at A level.
Yes.
So it is not a new concept altogether. It is just trying to stretch out. But the main reason for this is that the new curriculum recognizes that, because you see, when you say this, you either when you do the numerical, the D1, D2, it's either a distinction or it's a credit or it's a pass or a failure. And in the new curriculum, we do not have an option for failures. No one is going to fail in the new curriculum. However,
so UNEB is not going to be cancelling results. And
results definitely. Once I exist, certification has to have results. However,
but you're not going to be failing numbers, because I've always had an issue with you, like you bring back results and then hundreds of thousands of students have failed, and I'm like, is UNEB set to fail people?
Of course
I
not.
understand you're there to
Come on.
That's
what you
but
think
you hear
about
where
that.
I'm coming.
I hear
No, but
you.
you see where I'm coming from.
Yes.
Okay.
I hear you. But thank God for the new curriculum. So now, under this new curriculum, we recognize that learners may fail the mathematics, or they may fail to get the mark that you expect them to get in mathematics, in biology, in chemistry, or in history, or whatever. But they still have some competencies. So this new grading is going to be is going to be descriptive. So whereby there's going to be a mark which shows what does A stand for, and then if Olive has got an A, let's say in biology, what are how about in the competencies? What do they have? What is the description? There's going to be a description. What does A stand for? What does B stand for? And then there's going to be another area which shows Olive's competencies. Much as they've maybe here in biology they got B, but also they are competent in public speaking, they are competent in teamwork, in critical thinking, in problem solving. So we're going to have all those aspects, such that, and then they're going to look at, you also have a project. The learners are going to be doing a project. They start in S1 with group projects, where to basically to train them and orient them, and then the teachers monitoring them, what we are calling continuous assessment. So S1, S2, they are doing group projects. And then senior 3, we assume, it is assumed that by that time you are able to go on your own, you identify your personal project, you get a concept, you write the concept, the proposal, you go through the whole project proposal process, how you're going to, to get the resources and all that, and eventually write a concept on how you're going to even market whatever you're going to be, whatever you're going to come out with.
Does this project qualify for every subject, or just a particular one?
Thank you. That's a great question. In senior 1 and senior 2, every subject has got a project. So if you're doing, some of them are doing 9, 10 subjects or 11, you have a project for every subject. Reason being, S1, S2 is kind of the training, the orientation. And now when you get to senior 3, there is first of all a theme. They could give a theme, and let's say maybe the theme for this year maybe is biodiversity or something like that, or something like that. And now somebody who is doing mathematics or science, you can see how you can get your project tagged to the biodiversity theme or something like that. If it's patriotism, how does your science, your biology be tagged to the patriotism? And you can say maybe the environmental protection, how do you tag it to patriotism or something like that? So eventually, we expect you to have what we call an integrated project, which has at least different aspects from what you have been studying. Because this new curriculum is not about content, how much have you learned, how much have you crammed. No, it is about application. You've been studying all these 9 subjects. How are you able to apply the mathematical concepts? How are you able to apply the language concepts? How are you able to apply the historical concepts? How are you able to apply the environmental concepts? So you are a one person. You are somebody whom, like UBC would want somebody to come over here, not just somebody who is able to recognize that this camera needs to be here or something like that. And you go ahead and change it. Not to it and say, that's not my job. So we want to come up with somebody who is patriotic, somebody who is all round. That's basically the whole idea about the new curriculum. We are coming up with all-round citizens. So we are training these people to be critical thinkers, to be problem solvers. So you have the concepts, fine, but how are you applying those concepts to solve a problem in your community?
So, Ms. Kale, there is one big issue here. As a parent, because I'm hearing all these things and they seem very interesting. But as a parent, how do I recognize that my child has had these projects or that even, and the other question is, this new grading, are schools already using it or it is just going to be rolled out?
If you have a child, anybody who has a child who is in current from senior 1 to senior 4, look at their reports. Just asking of them to even send you a picture of that report. You will see they no longer have the D1s and everything. They will say is able to do this well in class, is able to talk to fellow students well, is able to express themselves well, and here they're not able to do this. This is basic, this is improved.
Now, I will cut you short there. I have a son in S3 in a school that I would say is among the best schools in the country, at least performance-wise, but I've not seen that.
Really?
I have not seen a report
What is
like
their report
that.
like? What's their report like?
D's and what? And the normal teachers comment, head teachers
But
comment.
there are 3 columns there.
I have not seen that.
Really?
I wish I had a picture. I'm not lying. He's in senior 3 and I have not seen that. But I have seen what you're describing on the report cards of my children in primary school.
Yes. Actually, the primary people, they are already into the competence-based assessment, the competence-based assessment. But I'm surprised because for me, the reports I've seen are quite. The first time I saw my son came back and I asked him and he's like, "But mommy, you work with your name. You have to challenge me." I didn't understand the report. I asked, "What is this?"
I've seen a few parents who say they don't understand the reports, but I'll be honest. Mine, it is the usual old report. There are no A's, there are no B's. There is D1s, D2s. I am very sure because every time I go to school, the first thing I look at is the report.
And there's no description on how the learner is performing.
No.
Are they doing? Have they been doing projects?
Apparently they have, but I'm not even sure about that. Though I know another student from another school whom I've seen with projects as well, but mine is in boarding school, so you don't get to know.
Okay, I think that what we do, first of all, it is work in progress. We do appreciate that we all do not come on board the same way. And for some reason, there is this other notion in education that what is not assessed is not taught. Now, because your name comes in at the tail end, we could not come in at the beginning. One, we had assessments to do in the old curriculum. Now we are coming in at this point in time because we are ready to do the assessment. And now schools have realized, actually, this is serious. At first, people had this thing, maybe yes, maybe not.
So some schools were not
still skeptical.
100% on
But now
board.
we have come out to tell you we are actually assessing the new curriculum. And what the body is doing right now, we are training teachers in the new curriculum concepts and specifically on how to gather data, on how to do assessment for continuous assessment. Because continuous assessment is school-based and it is contributing 20% of the scores overall. But also, most importantly, if a learner does not have scores for continuous assessment, UNEB is not going to grade them. So it is very important. Please, teachers out there, parents, if you have never been involved in the teaching and learning of your child, this is the time to do that. If you have a senior 4 candidate, I am telling you, go to school and ask them, are you getting the continuous assessment scores? Do you have the project? For this year, for the pioneers, we are telling them we are going to use their best, because they've been doing projects, hopefully. We are going to get we're asking them to give us their best project. It is up to you to say this is the best project that we are going to use.
In which class did you say the projects begin? The project
begin in senior
from
1.
Senior 1.
In senior 1 and senior 2, because basically we are following the National Curriculum Development Center guidelines.
Yes.
So senior 1 and senior 2, it is group projects. So and basically to orient the learners, and they put their skills together and then they are able to know and learn from each other. And then senior 3, we do expect them to begin working on the individual projects. However, depending on the school setup, some schools may still want to continue with the group projects, but then each learner has their own individual project at the end of it all.
Okay.
But so for the pioneer candidates, we expect them to have, we are going to be collecting the continuous assessment scores. Actually, it's ongoing right now, but the deadline is the 4th of October. As a parent, please make sure you follow this up to the letter. Otherwise, UNEB is not going to assess any learner who has not submitted continuous assessment scores. And to the teachers out there, please, let's do ourselves a bit of favor. Let's make sure right now, as the term progresses, because UNEP has issued the theme and then the guidelines on how to get the continuous assessment scores. We have done the AMIS, which is the tool for collecting the data, and right now we are going on to do the training. We have been training in northern Uganda. We finished training in northern Uganda. We've been training in the eastern. And now we are into the Western. From Western, we are going to go to West Nile, and eventually we shall wind up here with the Central region. And we are asking every school to send us 15 teachers, and we orient them. These are the trainers. We are training trainers. So we do expect these teachers to go back to their various schools and then train all the other teachers. And then next year, we shall keep training until everybody is aboard. But right now, we are training 15 teachers. Also, because we cannot deplete the school completely. We can't say, let's have the entire school come for the training.
And yet classes are still ongoing.
Classes are going on. So right now, we are in Western Uganda. We have various venues. We have, I think, Intare High School, Mbara High School, Mbara Secondary School. We have Kazo, various regions, various venues where we are training from. If you are in Western Uganda and you've not been contacted, please do alert us so we can get to know, because we are going to be there for about a week or 2. We can still make sure that your school is included. So feel free to call us on our toll-free line, which is 0800 111 427. That's 0800 111 427. Those who are in Central and in West Nile, please, we are coming to train your teachers in continuous assessment, but also giving you a broader aspect of the new curriculum. And we've also shared the sample papers. We did share the sample papers to make sure that the teachers and the students get appraised on how they get acquainted on how you're going to the setup is going to be.
Okay, that is very interesting. Please send in your questions and queries to Miss Jennifer Kalule. She will be answering your questions regarding the transitional examination that is going to be taken by the senior 4 candidates that were not able to sit their exams last year, or sat their exams and failed, or sat their exams but the results were withheld by UNEB due to malpractice, or all the students that never had a chance to sit for their senior 4 examinations. This is the opportunity you have. Now, registration deadline is tomorrow, 21st June 2024. After that, there will be, you said a 50%?
A 50% surcharge.
And then later on in July, if you're still
100%.
not registered, 100%
100%
surcharge. So why not register tomorrow to avoid any inconvenience? But also now, as a parent, let's look into, how about if my child was in one school and for one reason or another, maybe a suspension, maybe I can't afford the school fees in this school anymore. They're now in senior 3. This is not pertaining to the candidates because candidates are already registering. But what if, okay, even maybe have the schools finished registration for the new curriculum for the candidates?
The normal registration did end, but late registration is still going on, still until July 31st. That is a late registration with a surcharge.
Okay, so now speaking about transition and then the assessment results. I have a child in senior 3 now, and probably next year I fail to keep them in the same school, or they are suspended from that school. They join another school. What happens to their results?
Yes, that is one area where we are getting a challenge. Ideally, the school should be able to transfer the continuous assessment scores, and now it gets back to the parent. If this is where parents need to be so much involved in the learning of their children. You have to make sure you get the CL scores from that old school. And for currently, some schools are still adamant because they see you are taking away. As we've had cases where we've had to plead with the schools, and please, can you make sure you pass on the scores to this parent? And parents are pleading and they are dodging and saying, I don't know what, but that's not really the spirit. So ideally, the schools should be able to pass on these scores. However, the beauty about it is that we have the learners are going to have what you get CA numbers. During the training, we have a tool whereby we are going to assess this, the learners. We're giving it to the schools, and you can have your CA number, like 004, for instance. It is yours. Whether you are in UBC secondary school or you are in Shimon secondary school, you are in Tinda secondary school, it is going to be yours. So as long as your teachers have been inputting the data, we shall be able to access it.
So is this a technological tool where you're using ICT to ensure that you keep all this in your database?
Yes, it is, and we give it to all the schools. That's why we're doing the training. Before, we could not issue it before the training. But right now, once we finish the training, we give it to them, and it can be operated even. There's an online version. There's also an offline version where it is a CD. You try and download it on your PC, and then you be inputting the data there and then. So we shall be able to track the scores of the learners regardless of which school you're attending.
What I hear is that now it's going to become exceedingly hard to just move from one school to another. No. Imagine there are people who finish senior 4 when they've been to like 4 schools. It becomes a bit difficult and tedious to have your results transferred from each and every school, isn't it?
With the tool that is, because the tool belongs to UNEP. It's the tool, it's a management information system that UNEP has. And when we are training all schools countrywide, every school, whether you have a UNEP center number or you do not have, as long as you have learners in the lower secondary from senior 1 to senior 4, we are, especially those who are teaching senior 3 and senior 4, we are training them, and every school is going to have this tool installed. So for us, it's a matter of saying you were in UBC secondary school, and this was your number was 007. So, and you've gone to Shimon secondary school, it will still remain your number is your permanent number. It's going to be your number. So for us as UNEP, we are going to be able to recognize and identify these are their scores. So you can move to as many schools as you want.
As many schools as you want. Okay. I was worried that it may be tedious. Now, there is the issue of national identity cards. Are they a requirement for candidates to have before they can register for the new curriculum?
Not exactly. What happens is that there is the Ministry of Education has a program where they're trying to make sure that they get the learners. I think it's a documentation process. There is a management information system for all the learners in the country. However, for us as a board, because we cannot say that our our success or our performance is going to depend on somebody else's data collection. So for UNEB, it may not be a requirement, but maybe because the Minister of Education actually requires that information, and it's a partnership. So we would request that if you have the numbers, please go ahead and issue them. But if you do not have, even on our portal, we indicate the NIN. You can include the NIN if it's available. However, if it is not available, it is not a major requirement. What we require mostly for us, for primary, we want to see the birth certificate. Reason being, we want to make sure the names that appear on the birth certificate are the same names we are going to register you with.
What if we change the names?
Later on, if you change, that is okay. I mean, it's okay for you to change. But you see, we have issues whereby somebody says, I'm Jennifer Kalon, their birth certificate, primary, secondary, PLE certificate, they're Jennifer Kalule Musamba, UCE, Jennifer Nakaiza Kalule, USCE, they had another fourth name, and the documents don't speak to each other. And for us, the PLE document is the major input for us.
Yes.
So we will have to make sure we get it correct. The date of birth is very critical. Later on, when people release results, once we release results, people just see, what did my daughter get? They got a 4. No one looks at the detail of that spelling of name, order of names, the date of birth. Later on, they're looking for a job and they say, oh my God, my documents, your name, can you correct? And we don't do that.
You don't correct?
We only correct before UCE. Because thereafter, people get so wise and they tend to change. People change their dates of birth according to convenience. Their child is doing into the national football team, and they want to keep into the under 16 or something to that effect. So they keep changing the date of birth and say, I forgot, by the way, my husband gave a wrong date of birth. All those excuses, we don't want them. That is why we want the birth certificate at this level. Before you start thinking of getting so many ideas, we use your birth certificate to register this child. And then later on, we use these PLE results. That's why at UCE, we do not ask for much. All we ask for is your result slip at PLE.
Yes.
Because for us, it is our major input. So if there's a mistake at the PLE result slip, it's going to be carried on to UCE and to USCE.
When did you start asking for birth certificates for PLE?
We do that. Okay,
when did it start? Is it like mandatory, or
yes,
it is something that has just
for
begun?
PL it is mandatory because
Since when?
It is a primary document. We want the documents to be speaking to each other. We want to align all our documents as a country. We want to make sure, because it's one system supports the other, so we want to make sure the birth certificate is aligned to the PLE certificate. And because for us as UNEB, the PLE certificate is a major input. Later on, when you're registering for UCE and USCE, once data is collected, the PLE certificate, then it's going to go on like that. And then we encourage, in the event that there is a mistake at the PLE certificate at that level, please come and inform us. We are going to be able to change and correct that data before you register for UCE. And right now, if you are registered for UCE and there is a mistake in your data, we want to encourage you. We are going to have a display of the candidates data after cleaning up of registration. Please go and look at the notes board at the school. Look at everything, the spelling of names, the order of names, the date of birth. Look at the subjects of choice. We have issues whereby a learner says, I was registered for biology paper 2, but I don't do paper 2. I was doing paper 1. I was registered for art paper 2, and there's a coursework component which I did not do. And then they have to do what we call under protest. Excuse me. Under protest, first of all, you have to pay for it. But most importantly, a learner, it's very disorganizing. You did register for another paper and you end up doing another paper. So parents and learners, please, let's be involved. Later on, once we ask schools to display the registers, make sure you go there and confirm the data, the correctness of the data which has been registered for your candidate.
Well, I guess this is where we stop doing armchair parenting, where we just send money to school and make payments. Also, because we have these school PIN numbers, we don't even go to the bank. We don't have to worry about sending our students with money and then they eat the money. So let's stop armchair parenting. We go to the schools, we look at the boards and see the information, the data that has been displayed, and confirm whether it is true or not, so that it can be edited to avoid issues in future where your papers, your names are not matching and you have issues. You want a visa, but they're like, the papers you've given us, they do not match. The name order, the spellings, the date of birth, all of these things are very important. So we've been having a conversation regarding the transitional examinations from the old curriculum to the new one for those that failed or did not sit their examinations, senior 4 examinations last year, but also looking at the new system of grading for the new curriculum for the candidates that are sitting for the very first time in the new curriculum this year, 2024. This curriculum was released in 2020, rolled out in 2020, and we are having the first batch of candidates sitting it. Many parents are waiting with bated breath to see how this is going to turn out. I think the students too, even the schools themselves, but we'll see that
even
when you
yes,
even
we
you
are
know.
extremely excited, and we are putting in our efforts, we're putting in everything, because we are aware that now this is we are at the tail end, and everybody is now watching to monitor this new curriculum. If you never get it wrong, like we can never get it wrong,
you cannot
we will not get it wrong. We can show we've made all the necessary preparations, but just to make sure that this is acceptable, to make sure this works well for our students, but also as a nation, we are in this together. And we want to say thank you very much to everybody who has been part of the process. To be very honest, the parents have been very supportive, very inquisitive, and the teachers, the schools, the learners themselves are so excited. These learners are they are quite different if you look at them. They do things very differently. They are very innovative, they are outgoing, and those are the learners that we really want. So I want to thank everybody who's been part of this process. You've been very helpful. Let's do this together. But most importantly, remember to pray for the learners, pray for your neighbor to do it right, pray for the teachers, pray for everybody who is part of this process.
Well, pray for the candidates, pray for everyone. And from us at Good Morning Uganda, we wish every single candidate the best of luck when the time comes and they sit their national examinations. Thank you so much, Ms. Carly. Mrs.
My husband is Mr. Musamba. Mr. Carol is my father.
Well, thank you.
I want to say thank you so much to UBC for the opportunity, and I want to encourage anybody or the adult learners, please, transitional candidates, we have just a one opportunity. Anybody, if you know somebody who needs to sit for this transitional examination, please go ahead, encourage them to go and register. From a school nearby, or let them call up your neighbor, let them come, share, guide them. If you're anywhere near Kampala, you can go to KCCA. In any other district, please go to the district education office. They will guide you on where you can register for the transitional examination.
Well, that's all that we had for you on Good Morning Uganda agenda. Now, up next is our sports updates with Ruben Chibirango. And Good Morning Uganda does continue. Stick with us up until the hour of 9. And later on, we'll have Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Olive Monica Najuma.